Welcome back to another episode of Bossy, Brilliant, and Badass. I'm Lisa Lindsay here with my indefatigable co-host, Liz Green. I had to slow it down because I was going to mess it up.
Didn't catch that. Into what?
It's indefatigable, which means you never get tired, which I know is not true, but it's like, I somehow wanted to challenge myself to say that word on the podcast. I don't know why. It's kind of stupid, but.
I don't know if I know that word. So I learned a new word today. But yes, I get tired. Actually, in our break, I went and I chilled out in the living room. I'm like, okay, I'm getting old because I have to rest for 10 minutes in the middle of the day in between things.
I know.
I used to be able to go from one thing to the next, right? Just keep traveling through when I was younger, 16-hour days, no problem. A little bit tired, but it's all right. Just go to sleep for a few hours and you're good.
Nope. I'm with you on that one too. And this week has just been, I don't know, a nightmare. It's been a bit of a rough week, right? And it's Friday, we're recording today, and I am quite satisfied with the idea that I am going to take a break. I have a ton of things to do, but I need to just push pause, and I'm just going to push pause and leave this house and go do something with myself. And then maybe tomorrow I'll come back, I'll do some work, but I'm done.
That's great.
I'm over this.
You have to, right? You have to.
Yeah, sometimes you just have
yourself in that way.
Yeah. So Liz, all right, let's tell the people what we're doing today, because this week we do not have a guest. And, we have been so fortunate to have some really great guests all year this year. And as I was looking through episodes and I was pausing, thinking about where we are and what we're doing to the end of the year and how that's all working, I realized, wait, we hadn't done one of our famous Lisa and Liz catch-up episodes. So we need to do one of those, number one. And sometimes these are my favorite conversations to have, just catching up with you. So I think what we're going to do today, because we introduced something that we started doing earlier in the year, we started asking each other questions back and forth in our intros. I figured it'd be a good idea of just a whole episode of you and I just asking each other questions. What do you think?
I love it. I love it. I don't know exactly what I'm going to ask you, but I kind of have maybe an idea percolating, and you have to answer it too. No, screaming out of it.
Oh, so these are the rules? Yeah. Fine. Those are the rules. No squirming out of questions like I usually do.
It's not going to be that bad, though. I mean, we just came out of a fairly serious conversation. We were on Sarah Walton's podcast called what's the
Game On Girlfriend.
Game On Girlfriend. Love that name. Yeah, talking about conflict resolution styles, and that was super fun, but a little heavy. So we're gonna maybe go a little lighter with this.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to sort of start it, right?
But wait, my question for you isn't really light, though.
So that's why I said let's start light, because I have a question, and I think it's a light question, and then we can kind of ramp it up a little bit.
We'll see where it goes. We'll be spontaneous.
Yeah. All right. So my question for starters is what is one thing that you've been doing to kind of keep things light in your life? What's the one thing you're doing to keep things light and fun, right?
I have not been doing anything to keep myself and my life light and fun lately. So, yeah, I mean, it's just been a whirlwind for me lately. So it's, there's just been so many things going on. And so I don't know if there's been a lot of lightness and fun. But when I think back to what I normally do to have lightness and fun, usually it's just going out and hanging out with my husband and just doing nothing all day, except for maybe going to Central Park and going for lunch and maybe checking out a museum and that kind of thing. And I know that sounds super like kind of boring, I think, or because when I was younger, I would never do stuff like that. It'd always be action packed, action packed. But that's what we do now. That's what we do when we want some kind of fun and lightness, is really like a lot of relaxation, because both of us have pretty, busy companies. So, and luckily we both like to do that. It's not like one person likes to do one thing and the other person likes to do something different. So that's what we normally do. But because I have moved and there's just been all these things one after the next, I think I need some me time, just like you had just said. Like I need to go out and have some lightness and have some fun. It's overdue.
Yeah, sounds like it. Yeah, crazy. I think, when I think about that question for myself, I'm like, what is really something that I do? So every day, and this is, again, you're at least going out and having lunch. I'm not even doing that, but I have, the New York Times has this new game that I discovered called the Spelling Bee, right? And it literally is just a word game that it gives you 7 letters, and the center letter has to be used in every word that you make. And it's very cool. You can make as many words as long as they're 4 letters or more. And I gotta tell you, like literally every day, I am obsessed. And maybe that's the question I wanted to ask you, like, what are you obsessed with lately? But
I love word games. I'm obsessed with word games as well.
Yeah,
They're
I am
so much
obsessed with
fun.
I'm obsessed with this game, and it's always a drive to like get to what they call a panagram and genius level. So it's like making a number of words and like how you can do that. And it is so fun. And this morning, I ran out to get my hair done a little bit. And I was sitting in the chair, and the lady, as she's doing my hair, she was like, "What are you doing?" And I explained the game to her, and she became obsessed with it. So I do it every day, because you only get one game a day, and that's what makes it so interesting, right? Because some word games you could just play another one and play another one, and then you can kind of get bored. But this, you only get one per day. So if you hit genius, or you hit like queen bee is what they call it, you're done.
Where did you hit?
So today I hit genius. So genius is the level that's in game.
Surprise me.
Well, but it's just a number of points. So that's the level. That's the last official level, and then queen bee is like the next level. So you could keep playing to see if you hit queen bee. So I hit queen bee today but it's the first time in weeks that I've hit queen bee. I don't hit queen bee every day, because some of those words are obscure, but today was really quite fun. And I am obsessed with this game. And I'm like, yeah, that is probably the only thing I do. So I do it in the morning, and then my day gets very busy. Like I might start in the morning and do a couple of words. If I'm not done in like the 10 minutes that I have before opening my eyes and then running to the bathroom and starting my day, then I try to finish it at night. And most times I don't finish it, but it's the only 2 areas in my day that I'm able to add something that is not like work. It's a little bit of fun. It gets my brain going a little bit.
Yeah.
And I am truly obsessed with it.
Well, yeah. And plus, those word games, they're so good for your brain. It's like a gym for your brain.
Yeah. Yeah,
they say you're supposed to do those all the time if you want your brain to work at its best level. It's something like that.
Yeah. So that's what I am truly obsessed with this week, or right now, because my obsessions, they move on. But
do you like Scrabble?
I love Scrabble.
We should have a Scrabble game one day.
And you don't want to play Scrabble with me because competitive? Yeah.
Both of us are competitive, and both of us are probably pretty good or really good at it, right?
Oh, I'm going to say it this way. I am a complete asshole playing Scrabble. You do not want to play Scrabble with me. I'm telling you right now. Like, yeah.
That's awesome. I know that's what got Paul and I through the beginning of the pandemic, is we had Scrabble tournaments every single day at 4 o'clock.
Nice.
Stop what we're doing.
I like that it was structured too.
And then, you know, if I was working or something and doing Zoom back in the office, I would come out and he'd have the Scrabble game all set up for the two of us to just really like, okay, so when are we going to start playing Scrabble? And so it was like so cute because I got him into it, right? But
something to look forward for. Something to look forward to.
I forgot about that. Playing games, right? Playing board games or any kind of games. Or okay, I have a question for you. It was going to actually be a different question, but I'm going to revamp it.
Sure.
What was your favorite game as a kid?
So
and it probably changed throughout the years, right?
Well, I don't think I played many games. So one, I grew up in the Caribbean, and you know that was very much make your own fun. We didn't have the same type of games that probably our more American audience would be aware of, right? So it's so I can't think of anything, but that's probably more because I'm an introvert and I was an introvert as a child. So my favorite game was reading.
What? Reading?
So
this is the reason why Lisa Lindsay is very, very smart or brilliant. We'll use a word in our title. Brilliant and badass. Yeah, because you read, that was your form of entertainment as a child.
That's how I entertained myself as a child. I read a lot. So there was a lot of reading. And I mean, so much so that I mean, I just love reading, and I still love reading. I just don't get an opportunity to do much of it as an adult because now there's so much other things going on, and you know, to sit down and read a book. Although I have just read Untamed by Glennon Doyle, which I absolutely love. She talks about a lot of coaching concepts in that book without realizing she's talking about coaching concepts.
Really?
So,
like what?
Yes. So she talked about being still in question. She calls it questioning. I want to look for the actual chapter. If I had my phone in front of me, I would look, but I'm going to probably pop in and tell you what it looks like. But she talks about this idea of going inward and like sinking down and getting inside of yourself, but she doesn't use that language really, but that's what she's saying, getting inside of yourself and she called it knowing. That's the word she uses. She uses knowing. And I'm like, girl, that is all about just sitting with yourself, reflecting, understanding. She's like, whenever you have a problem, talk to your knowing. And I'm like, yes, whenever you have a problem, go inside yourself and sit down and figure it out. And she talks about because it's a memoir, so it's a series of stories. She talked about the first time doing it was when she was considering getting a divorce from her husband. And literally 10 minutes a day, going into a closet and just sitting with herself for 10 minutes.
Going into a closet?
Like a physical, actual closet, closing
really?
The door.
Interesting.
Yes, in order to block out everything, the light and all that stuff, to kind of get inside of herself. And now it's easier, right? Because you're more practiced. It's sort of like going inward and kind of thinking, okay, what do I really want? What do I want to do? But it's like finding your knowing. And I know that's completely off topic because you asked me about game as a child, but but I loved it because I was like, you know, women who follow her and read that book will come to a place of self-coaching. That book is really just about self-coaching.
And who's the author?
In a way, her name is Glennon Doyle. She's not a coach. She started as kind of like a Christian mommy blogger, if we want to put a label on her. And she has a following of other moms and people like that. But this book is really, at the end of the day, I feel like it's a coaching manual. Like it's a way to self-coach.
Really?
It's like, if you look at the way first of all, she's an excellent writer. But the way she pulls her stories together and what she's talking about, like that first one, like knowing, and then she talks about burning it all to the ground. And I'm like, girl, I love this. Like this idea of when you know and you do some other things, how you burn it all to the ground and rise again, right? Like sometimes you have to start over. Like what do you find? The new buds you find. That's my language, the new buds, but the new buds you find. If you go think about a tree that might be burned in the forest, after a while, it starts.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, looking for the new buds and finding ways for those to flourish. Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah, so I think it's an excellent book. I highly recommend it. It's called Untamed by Glennon Doyle, and we put that in the show notes. And I just think that it's a great book. But sorry, going back to what we were started, my favorite game as a child was to read.
No, because my original question for you was going to be, what did you want to be when you grew up? Right. But because we were talking about that, I switched it. So I'm going to go to that one then. What did you want to be when you envision yourself as like, say, whatever, 6 or 7 or even 8? What did you want to be when you grew up?
Yeah. So your girl was going to be a doctor. She was for sure going to be a doctor.
No.
Like 100%. 100%.
I did not know that.
I know.
What about that do you think was enticing for you?
Well, I think it's interesting, right? So one thing about a different culture in the Caribbean, there really only 3 or 4 jobs that you could have being in the Caribbean, right? And it's teacher, doctor, accountant, lawyer, nurse. It's like those 5. Those are the only ones you could ever have and ever be. Because there was nothing else. Right? There was nothing else. And I guarantee you, had I not left the Caribbean, I say all the time that the idea that I could be a coach, and plus the other things, because one of the things I've done when I've coached people on their careers is we walk through, there's a specific thing that the government has, it's called the occupational something, but you could look up jobs based on certain personality traits, right? And one of them was I could be like a judge or an investigative reporter. And I'm like, I could see both of those things, right? As from a personality perspective, as things I could be. But those were not things that you could be when you grew up. So I don't know that I necessarily wanted to be a doctor, other than thought I had to be a doctor. Of all those 5 things, right? Who makes the most money? A doctor.
Right.
Right. So I don't know that I really wanted to be a doctor, other than I was going to be a doctor because that's the thing to be. And and then got to the US at 16 and started going to high school, started going to college, and I still kind of tried to pursue it. But somebody told me that to be a doctor, you have to do well in physics, and I failed physics twice. So I was like, And I pursued psychology for a while. And then, y'all know I dropped out at 19 when I was in Atlanta, didn't go to school for years, and then fell into HR, and here we are.
Here we are. So company.
Yep, exactly. So what about you? What did you want to be when you grew up? I mean, I kind of want to ask that question differently. Like, I want to ask, what would your younger self not believe about you today? Like, I want to put a twist on the question.
A lot. Actually, when you say younger self, I think that it probably changed throughout the years, because when I was really young, like say around 6, I thought I could do anything, right? I knew I wanted to be a figure skater. I wanted to be a creative writer. Well, maybe not when I was 6, maybe it was more when I was about 8. When I was 12, I wanted to be a lawyer and an actress. And so it really kind of changed along the way. But yeah, so when I was younger, I thought, I can do whatever I want to do in this world. And that kind of kept going kind of throughout my life. And then once I started getting a little bit older, I still believe that to be true. But then there were some reality things that set in, like, okay, well, I'm not going to be a famous figure skater and go to the Olympics because I'm 18 and I don't even take skating lessons anymore. So like there's certain things that have to drop off, right? But I maintained that I wanted to be an actress. So that's what I did, you know. I pursued acting and modeling at a pretty young age, like about 17. And, you know, that was my life for several years thereafter before I started my company Bar Candy and then now coaching. So it's interesting, you know, because that is a question that I do sometimes ask my clients, like, what did you want to be when you grew up? Because sometimes if we can go back to that kid before any doubts or any insecurities or criticisms or what have you, there's really a lot of cool information that that little kid holds. And oftentimes, if we dig deep, we'll see like, oh, wait, what I wanted to do back then is still kind of in some way what I wanted or what I'm doing or what I still want to do now.
Yeah, I agree with that. And there's something about being a kid that is unfettered, like you said, by unencumbered with the notions of doubt, like you said, but the reality of reality is how I want to kind of put that, right? So this idea that you still kind of at that age think that everything is possible.
Yeah.
Everything is possible before we get to be adults and start to think these things aren't possible. Right.
Yeah. And that, like, that little kid still lives inside of all of us. I truly believe.
100%. Yeah, I agree.
And maybe at different ages and stuff. And it's like so important to kind of get back to that little kid. But I like this conversation because, you know, when you said when you asked me at the beginning, you know, what do you do for fun and feeling, you know, a sense of lightness? And, you know, I said walking to the park and going to museums and stuff like that, which is true. But if I'm really going to be honest and can connect back to like maybe the kid inside of me, like one of my favorite things to do is play charades with a group of people.
Yeah.
I friggin' love that.
Oh, it's fun.
Yeah. Maybe I'll pick that back up again. Get a group of people over and start playing charades.
I know. And, you know, I think sometimes I look at the pandemic and how it has really changed our behaviors because we've really had to start to be comfortable with ourselves and friends with ourselves and not being around families or big groups or massive groups. And even still to this day, we're still kind of managing that a little bit, right? Maybe we're in a slightly different situation than we were last year, but we're all still kind of managing that. And I gotta tell you, I really enjoy being out with people and doing something kind of silly and dumb. Like just doing something dumb. So I totally.
Like
So I am very rarely the person who like lets loose, right? So it's very like people could be like getting wild and I'll be like sitting in a corner watching. I have fun watching people get wild. But if you get me in a mood or at a moment, I could be running, jumping, screaming, and laughing like an idiot. Like I will go jump on a trampoline. I will do something like silly like that just to kind of like,
like,
and I think
God, I love that. I love trampolines. I used to love trampolines when I was a kid.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. All right. So whose turn is it? Is it your turn or is it my turn? Might be my turn. Okay. Hold on.
Yeah.
All right. So why do you think we met?
Are you talking about this on like sort of like a cosmic level? A universe messaging level?
Is that how you want to interpret the question?
Level? There's so many directions I could go with this. I think we met because maybe I needed to learn something from you.
Oh, no, I wasn't expecting that.
You're like, oh, no, don't like that answer.
No, I mean, I think,
So on a
go ahead.
deep level, you have taught me a lot of stuff about myself, right? Just in terms of some of the conflicts that we've encountered and we're able to move through. And just, you know, we really did a lot of our podcasting throughout the pandemic. When we first started this podcast, it was at the beginning of the pandemic.
100%.
And I know we talked about this a few times on the podcast when you and I were walking down the street down in New York City, and just hearing about that one case and going, oh my gosh, do you think this is going to be something? And we were just starting. I think we maybe bagged one episode or something like that. So it was really, there was a lot of stuff, I think, going on with us individually because of the pandemic. And I think I learned a lot about myself through being in a partnership with you. That has
Yeah, I
been
agree
really
with
good
that.
for me.
I agree with you as well. I think that I have learned a lot about myself. I think I said this just now with on Sarah's podcast, that this has probably been, like, being in a partnership in this way has probably been my biggest area of growth personally, over the last year or so, because, and it makes sense, right? Because it's a different aspect of my life that probably doesn't get lived out. You know, you're in friendships and situationships, we like to call them, and stuff like that. And I don't think I ever really focused on relationship building in the same way as I did when we were trying to do this project together, right? So it created lessons. And I know we sometimes think, oh, I met this person and da 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 da, but and we did X and we did Y, and then that's it. That person is no longer in your life, or they're in your life forever, depending on how the relationship goes. But yeah, I think we meet people who have something to teach us.
Yeah.
Whatever that thing is. And sometimes
Whatever it is.
it's a shit lesson, right? It's a lesson we don't want to learn.
Right.
But we have to, or we must. But yeah, I
Mhm.
think I agree with you on the answer. Like, this is a lesson that it taught me a lot about myself. Being in this partnership with you has really taught me a lot about who I am, and not just who I am, but also who I want to be.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Yeah. And I also think that, you know, with this podcast, we didn't really know where it was going to go. We didn't know. I mean, we sort of had an idea. We knew what we wanted to start with. We were really good at kind of honing it in. And then it just evolved, and it evolved in such an amazing way. And here we are now on what episode is this?
80.
80 something, right?
I don't
So
know,
we're almost
84?
at our 100th episode, and wow, what a journey that has been, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's taught me, the relationship itself has taught me something doing this work. And then I mean, obviously there's obvious stuff like other skills I've picked up, things that I've learned to do, all those
For
things,
sure.
right? All those extra things that's happened in the
Yeah.
world. But really, it's taught me a little bit about the type of person I want to be.
Yeah.
And I think that that's very, very cool.
Yeah. Me too.
All right,
Me too.
your turn.
Okay, so another question. What has been the highlight of your year in terms of growth? And it can be professional or personal.
Okay. So the year's not over. Number one. So I think maybe there's still maybe more things coming. Number two, I kind of feel like I want to save stuff for our episode that I know we're going to do, which is our year-end wrap-up, where we're kind of going to look back. But I think it's I think I've been focused in a professional way, right? And I've been driving in a professional way. But that has been sort of, whereas in past years, it's been like my primary focus. This year, I've really sort of brought it down a little bit. So I would say it's now a little bit more even with kind of thinking about my personal life and what I want that to look like and things that I want in my life in that way. So I think the highlight is sort of coming to terms with doing something new and different and unexpected in my life, right? And recognizing, and I'm not going to say too much. I know I'm sounding cryptic and I'm doing that on purpose because I kind of want to keep it till the end of the year, our wrap up episode. But recognizing that there's always a path to getting what you want if you can identify the thing you want.
Very nice.
I know we're both pausing because I'm like, say more about that. Like the coach in me is like, say more, Lisa. But I'm like, no. I want everybody to kind of listen to the end because I think when we think about where this year started and what my brain was thinking and where I was and where I am now and how it kind of all came together for me in many ways unexpected. And a lot of it's been hard. There's been some kind of chaotic things as well. But like there's always a path to getting what you want in life. If you can kind of visualize it and find it and then start to make a plan for it.
Yeah. And I like that you said that, start to make a plan for it, because it's easy to be a dreamer and think, oh, I want to get there and this is what I want and I want to end up there somehow, even though who knows what that even means. But to create a plan, that's really the key. And that's why coaching works so well, you know.
I agree. So I'm going to turn it back on you, obviously. Like, what's been your greatest learning so far this year?
Oh, there's just been so many things. So for me, it's been okay. I'm going to speak on a professional level, but it's also very personal as well. You know, I started running these groups, and I'm merging a few different modalities, and it has been one of the most exhilarating experiences of my entire life. It's you know, to merge a few different modalities, it was kind of complicated at first, and what I realized was, gosh, this just took like balls to do it, and that made me feel really proud of myself, you know, to just be able to formulate something and then have it actually work out. And it's something that I wanted to do, you know, for many years, is just to run really cool groups. And I'd done, you know, a bunch of that in the past, but not in this way. And so, you know, I keep coming back to, and I know, Lisa, you know this, I've told you this story before. One of my mentors when I was about 19 or 20, you know, when I spoke with her a couple of weeks or about a year ago, she said, Liz, just follow the thread, set an intention. You know, you want to do this and do it, but don't get too far ahead of yourself, because things will just work out if you keep following the thread. And that's what I learned to do this year, is follow that thread. And man, that's not easy, but it's worth it, you know, to be able to have the patience to do that and some trust. And I also think too that to have support in your life is super important around following the thread as well.
I agree. All right. So we've been chatting for a bit. I think this is my last question for you. And I don't know
Wait,
how you're gonna.
why do I have two in a row directed at me?
Oh, that's what happened. See, I wasn't keeping track. I am like pretty antsy to ask this question, but go ahead. If you have one for me, go ahead. I'm here. I'm here. I'll take it. And maybe we'll end there.
No, go ahead. You can ask that one, or you can save it.
Okay. So, what limiting belief is holding you back the most right now?
Oh, I don't know about that question. I think that has to be for another day.
You said no backing out.
Right, but you first broke the rule by asking me two questions at the same time.
All right, that's it. All right, we're done.
That's too much of a like at the end, dive deep in there.
Like, we're not going deep. All right, so let's.
I don't mind answering that, but let's do that the next get together that we have.
All right, so Liz has promised to answer that question the next time. All right.
All right. So is there something that you would like me to ask you?
Liz? No, we talk all the time. You know, it's weird because I feel like we talk all the time, so we're always talking about stuff. But yeah, I mean, you can ask me whatever you want, but we're not doing anything deep.
We're not going there. We're not doing anything deep. But you know what I love about this conversation though, and I really enjoyed it. I think it's been super fun. It's like one of those kind of powwows you have when you first become friends with somebody, when you're a kid or a teenager. I would say, grab one of your friends and just sit and have one of these kinds of conversations. Just ask these questions because it's fun. It's fun to learn about what the other person, there's so much we can learn about other people, but then it's also fun to answer questions too. So I would recommend
things that make you think.
That.
Yeah. Things that make you think about yourself, because who knew what game did you play the most growing up? By the way, did you answer that one? What game did you play the most growing up?
No, but I played tons of games. It was all action games.
Yeah. Like who knew that could turn into, and I read.
I read too, though. I read so many Nancy Drew books. Do you remember those books?
Oh God, me too. I read every single one of them. And I was always on a hunt for either the next one. And I read every single one. That in Hardy Boys.
Me too. I finished Nancy Drew and I had to start on the Hardy Boys.
Yep. I read both of them.
I was like obsessed. I would just read. I would blow through them and I'd go to the library. I'd be like, where's the next one?
Where's the next one? Me too.
I'm such a dork. I even started watching the TV show.
Did you really? I haven't watched.
I was like, no, I don't. It's nah.
I've grown up a little bit. I know. So crazy. And the Babysitter's Club. Did you read those books?
No.
Those books I remember. Yeah.
Did you read the books about the twins that were lovers? Look at your face.
Wait, you said twins that were lovers.
Yes, it was this whole series, and the
Flowers in the Attic.
Sister, yes, Flowers in the Attic, and all those.
I've never read those books. Oh, I've heard of them, but I've never read them. Oh my God! So maybe something for me to read as an adult. All right, good. I'm glad we ended on a light note. All right, so Liz. So great, so cool. It's always fun catching up with you. Guys, we love having guests on, but I think it's really important sometimes for us to just stop, pause, talk to each other, like connect. It's been a whole long year.
Heck yeah.
And this is super cool. And then the next few that we've got coming to the end, I mean, working on a couple of things. So hopefully they'll be all fun and very interesting sort of episodes coming. But I also hope that you guys enjoyed this chat as well, because, it's a change from what we normally do and what we've been doing for the last, the last few months. So,
Right. Yeah.
all right,
Awesome.
Liz. Excellent. So thank you for being our badass of the week.
Thank you for being our badass of the week.